everyone, welcome back to High Point again. We were studying about deconstruction. We have seen about Derrida, about Paul Deman, about Foucault. Now in this video we are going to learn about J.H. Miller, who lived from 1928 to 2021. Recently only he died. Okay, before entering into the video, let me remind you to visit my website so that you get a comprehensive idea about what you need to learn one by one for your NTA UGC NET JRF English Language and Literature Paper 2. If you are interested, you can join our family as a student with 15% of off going on in the website for the study materials provided there. And also, okay, so we are providing 900 plus audio lectures, 300 plus downloadable PDF materials, and previous and practice question papers which are lively attemptable, and also personal care and guidelines if you want to have any sort of assistance for you to crack and have this entire materials. See, some people, they don't know how to start their learning, where to start and how to start, how to cover this entire things, how to revise them. So you will get personal care and guidelines once you subscribe to the course. Okay, we will be there to assist you. Now let's see about J.H. Miller, life and career. Joseph Hills Miller was an American literary critic and scholar who advanced the theories of literary deconstruction. So he is a theorist we can find in deconstruction, and he is also popular in some other literary theories. If you know in which other theory J.S. Miller is popular, you can comment that below. Then this is his full name, Joseph Hills Miller. His nationality is America. He was part of the Yale School along with scholars including Paul Deman, Derrida, and Jeffrey Hartman, who advocated deconstruction. So do remember these theoreticians as deconstructionists, and they belong to Yale School. Okay, Paul Deman, Jacques Derrida, Jeffrey Hartman, and also J.H. Miller. Through his career, he associated with the Johns Hopkins University, Yale University, and University of California, Irvine, and wrote over 50 books studying a wide range of American and British literature using principles of deconstruction. So he mainly implemented the theories and principles of deconstructions upon more than 50 books, wide range of American and British literature books, and he associated himself with Johns Hopkins University, Yale University, University of California, and Irvine. Okay, do remember that. Moving on. About his major concepts, he applied the techniques of Derrida and Paul Deman to a range of American and British books, including prose as well as poetry. He never restricted himself into one genre, but he applied the techniques of deconstruction, techniques of Derrida, Paul Deman, and all into various American and British works. Miller defined the movement as searching for the thread in the text in question which will unravel it all. So he was in search of the thread in that text in question which will unravel it all. So Miller defined the movement, the deconstructive movement, as searching the thread in the text in question. So the whatever text that you are studying, you can find a thread there, and by holding that thread, you can unravel everything, possibly everything, and said that there are multiple layers to any text. So multiple layers to any text, both its clear surface and its deep countervailing subtext. So what is that? The clear surface is there, that is one layer, and also deep layers are there, countervailing subtext. So these two type of not only two type but multiple layers are there. There will be clear surface layer will be there, underneath that you can find many other countervailing subtext. On the one hand, the obvious and univocal reading always contains the deconstructive reading as a parasite encrypted within itself as part of itself. So on the one hand, what is happening? The obvious and univocal reading always contains the deconstructive reading as well, as a parasite encrypted within itself as a part of itself. So suppose you are going to read and you are going to analyze and unravel the meanings of a text, a prose, a novel. Okay, so the obvious, very clear and surface and univocal reading, the very direct kind of reading, it also contains a kind of deconstructive reading, and it is like a, so deconstructive reading will be as a part of this obvious and univocal reading, as a parasite, something clinging to this obvious univocal reading, which is encrypted within itself. So this deconstructive reading is encrypted within this obvious and univocal reading as a part of itself. Okay, on the other hand, what is happening? Deconstructive reading can by no means free itself from the metaphysical reading. It means to context. So deconstructive meaning cannot be segregated or made free from itself the metaphysical reading. Okay, when you are going to unravel the meaning, you just cannot separate this deconstructive reading from the metaphysical reading that the text has, that you are going to contest. Okay, deconstructive reading is going to contest this obvious univocal reading or a metaphysical reading. Okay, that you cannot, even though you are going to contest it by making a deconstructive reading, but deconstructive reading cannot get itself free from this metaphysical reading of a text. Okay, now Miller's The Critic as Host. So this is a work by Miller. The Critic as Host could be viewed as a reply to M.H. Abrams, who presented a paper, The Deconstructive Angel. So Deconstructive Angel is another essay by M.H. Abrams at a session of the Modern Language Association in December 1976, criticizing deconstruction and the methods of Miller. So in Deconstruction Angel, M.H. Abrams, he criticized deconstruction and some methods of Miller, J.H. Miller. So Miller gave a suitable reply to M.H. Abrams' The Deconstructive Angel in his work The Critic as Host. Miller made the case that words and text lacking objective outside or providing meaning didn't mean they were the prison house of language, but instead they were a place of joy where the critics had the freedom to associate and provide various possibilities, eventually guiding the meaning. So what does he say? Miller made the case that words and text lacking objective outside. So in a text, some words and text that lack any objective outside itself or providing meaning didn't mean that. So they don't provide any particular meaning, any particular word or objective outside. That doesn't mean that they were the prison house of language. They cannot be, this kind of text lacking objective outside cannot be labeled as prison house of language, but instead they were a place of joy. See, these words and text lacking objective outside, these should be considered as the place of joy for the critics. Why? Because critics had the freedom. In these places, critics have the freedom to associate and provide various possible meanings, eventually guiding the meanings. So these words and text are lacking objective outside or providing meaning. So these kind of passages, these kind of areas can be studied more, and critics have the freedom to associate more meanings and provide various possibilities in that areas, and eventually that will guide the meaning. The movement continued to gain popularity through the next decade, presenting the paper called Triumph of Theory at 1986 session of the Modern Language Association. So deconstruction as a literary theory emerged towards the end of 1960s, and in 1980s too, deconstructive movement continued to gain popularity. So do remember these titles and try to remember them as associated to deconstructive theory. Okay. He also noted to have made the topic of deconstruction more accessible to a wide audience by publishing in magazines including Newsweek and the New York Times magazine. So deconstruction is a little bit difficult to understand. It is not available to common people to understand this, right? For literary students too. He made it more public and more accessible to wide range of audience who are interested in literature or literary kind of things. Okay, so he published papers and criticisms in magazines including Newsweek and the New York Times magazine. He was also a defender of the movement in the late 1980s when the field was losing some of its popularity. So deconstruction's heyday was in 1970s. Okay, so in later 1980s, J.H. Miller became a defender of this movement when deconstruction was losing its popularity. He leaned on ideas that he termed ethics of learning, where he countered critics by arguing that it was the reader's obligation to try and find meaning in the text even when it appeared impossible. See, he sticked to the idea that he termed as ethics of learning, where he encountered, so those who are criticizing deconstruction, he said that there is a thing known as ethics of learning, and he argued that let the reader try. It's the reader's obligation to try and find meaning in the text. Nobody can stop that. So even it appeared impossible to find out some other meaning, readers can try, and readers' obligation is to try and find many other meanings in the text. So that is ethics of learning. Now, next, let's see his major texts. Okay, he made many readings, many kind of readings of different kinds of text. So I have not mentioned all of those papers, but I picked some important ones, and you can read along with me or pause the video and read the titles 2 or 3 times. Okay, Charles Dickens, the world of his novels, published in 1958, and in 1965, Poets of Reality, 20th century writers, the linguistic movement from Wordsworth to Stevenson, the ethics of reading, Kent, Demand, Eliot, Trollope, James and Benjamin, published in 1987, Theory Now and Then, published in 1991, Speech Acts in Literature in 2001, On Literature, published in 2002, For Derrida, published in 2009, The Conflagration of Community, Fiction Before and After Auschwitz, published in 2011, Communities in Fiction in 2014, An Innocent Abroad, Lectures in China, published in 2015, Thinking Literature Across Continents. He compilely wrote this work with Ranjan Ghosh, published in 2016. Okay. That's all about J.H. Miller. You can have more if you come to my website, and if you want to know anything further or any other queries, questions that you have, you can comment that below, or you can use this WhatsApp number to reach out to me, or use Instagram page to reach out to me. Okay, and also follow me on Instagram, and also subscribe to my channel. Press the like button if you like this video, and share this video and promote my channel. Okay, meet you in the next video session. Until then, stay tuned to High Point and give your best try for the upcoming NET JRF English Language and Literature exam, and yeah, be happy. Bye bye. Thank you.